Welcome to From the Couch, Sports Talk Radio, the true definition of armchair quarterbacks. The two brothers express their highly inaccurate opinions about sporting news from chairs. Wait, they don't even have a couch? That's a dumb title. Anyhow. The views expressed by the hosts are only opinions, and any stated facts are purely coincidental. Sit back and enjoy yourself. Now, here are your hosts, Jeff and Dave.
Welcome to Tuesday Night Football Roundtable, presented by From the Couch Sports Talk Radio. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's getting by after their first non-week of football. Anyway, we got the crew, and we are going to get right into it. Today, we're going to be discussing the AFC East. All the teams in the East, their needs going into free agency. We're going to tack on what their cap space is, what their needs are, who are their notable free agents are, so on and so forth. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to my man, Mr. Sean Price. Sean, you're going to be talking about this team I'm putting up right here, the New York Jets. They have a salary cap overage of $7.5 million. Notable free agents: Lawson, Whitehead, Huff, Connor McGovern, Thomas, Chuck Clark. Their draft picks and their needs: O-line, quarterback, safety, wide receiver, and tight end. Sean, take it away.
It helps when you unmute your microphone. Well, thanks for tuning in tonight, everybody. I'm going to make this fairly quick and let everyone else kind of chime in. Basically, the state of the Jets right now. We are married to Aaron Rodgers, period. We're all in on Rodgers. We have a 3-year window to try to get to a Super Bowl. This is year 2. Last year was 1 when he went down. So as far as it goes, we need desperately offensive line. I've said it last year. I said it during the year. I said it after the year. I'm going to say it again before this year. If they don't address this, Saleh and Joe Douglas need to get rid of them. So O-line happening, we need that. Free agent-wise, we're doing pretty darn good. There is some fat to trim, but I don't know if we can do it. We got all these receivers from Green Bay last year. They're on 2-year contracts. We can't do much. Thank God we have some kind of salary cap space to work with, and with some restructuring of some people, we're going to free up some more. Huff is a big question. He did really well, 10 sacks last year. I think we need to find a way to keep him, although I think right now he believes he's worth a lot more money than what the Jets are going to offer. Do they let him test the free agency market? And when things aren't as rosy, maybe they're going to come down and they can sign him. We're going to see. And McGovern is the other one. He's offensive, but he played pretty well last year. Like probably one of the few pieces of the offensive line that actually did anything. As far as what they need to do is we need to draft at 10 a quality tackle. Period. There's several out there. It is a deeper draft, although we all know that the Jets are not great at drafting anyone. Mekhi Becton did not work out. I thought last year he was going to come back and have a renaissance year, but no, he didn't. We got to let him go. Then we don't have a second-round pick because Aaron Rodgers, and this might be a mixed blessing that I went down last year because we didn't give up that first-round pick. So now, even though we don't have a second, we're top of the third round. We may be able to trade up into the second and get something else. We definitely need another wide receiver. Rumor has it, we are going after Mike Evans. I don't know if he's going to want to go. New England is the other place that I see Evans maybe eyeing, but that's purely for money. So basically, once we get the offensive line handled, and a receiver. Tight end is also another question mark there. I think we could pick one up in free agency, so we don't need to draft one. I don't think that the Jets are so far off and so desperate we don't know where to look. We know what we're going to get through our draft. And I just everyone keep in mind we are all in on Aaron Rodgers. We got 2 years to try to do this, so we got to get stuff taken care of. Anyone?
I can go here. I think I completely agree with Sean here. The Jets, this is a do or die year. Got some space to make things happen, and I think David Bacardi, his left tackle. I think Aaron Rodgers wants to get the gang together. I think they pull the plug after this year. If it doesn't happen, he's in his 40s, and I think it may be time to move on. I read a report today. They're going to try to target Sam Howell in a trade here to try to get him to be the backup in case the Rodgers plan doesn't work out. Sam Howell's an interesting quarterback. Obviously, can move the ball. That'll be a better plan than I think Joe Flacco coming back and redoing the Flacco experience in New York.
Hey, Sean, let me ask you this question. You are married to Aaron Rodgers, and whether that Sam Howell thing comes to fruition, I don't necessarily know. I don't necessarily know that the Commanders, whether they're going to draft a quarterback or whatnot, I don't necessarily think they're going to just give Sam Howell away. I mean, Sam Howell, right or wrong, he was like first or second in total passing yards last year. So I don't think you're going to just give that guy away, and you're gonna want something for him. And I don't know if the Jets have the capital to give up to get him. But that being said, I think the one thing that the Jets have to be leery about is, I know Aaron Rodgers isn't a runner quarterback per se, but he is a mobile quarterback, and he likes to move around in the pocket and kind of drift from left to right to allow his receivers to get into their routes or create the routes that he likes to throw, where he's kind of throwing across the field to that open area. Do you think with the injury he sustained, do you think that's going to be something that the Jets are going to have to look at, and maybe Aaron Rodgers himself is going to have to look at, maybe change his style a little bit? Because, again, the Achilles injury was nothing that, that an offensive line caused. I mean, that was just a bad step. It wasn't because of the offensive line. It was a bad step, or just a step in general, not a bad step, just a step. So what do you think? How do you think Aaron Rodgers comes back from that? And do you think the Jets might target a mid-round quarterback as with the Aaron Rodgers situation?
Maybe they're going to target someone late, someone who's on the board, and not no one consequential. Obviously it's the Jets, so they're not going to find a freaking Tom Brady or a Purdy. But I think Aaron's going to be fine. I do like the fact that the World Cup is going to be played this summer at MetLife Stadium, a portion of it anyway. They are going to get new turf, and that's one thing everyone had a complaint about. That was a terrible field. It was installed in 2010 or something. It was not. It's not in great condition anymore. I hate to make this so black and white, but I'm going to. I don't care who the backup is. I don't care. If Aaron Rodgers plays and plays well, we're going to be fine. If he goes down, oh no, he suck again. Period. That's it. And I hate putting all my eggs in one basket. Howell would be great. I would love to get him as a backup. That's not going to happen.
Well, I will say this, and I think this is where that opinion is a little short-sighted, because again, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, one of the best of all time, and I get it. But having that backup quarterback to come in when you have a defense as talented as the Jets, and if you have a quarterback who can be the quote-unquote game manager, whatever you want to call them, with a strong running game that the Jets have and the wide receiver core that they have, and if they are going to go after a Mike Williams or if they're going to draft a wide receiver, because this is a very deep draft in wide receiver, I don't think you can discount the fact of having that quality backup to be there, because your season doesn't have to be won or lost based on the health of one individual player. Case in point, the Cleveland Browns. They finished 11-5. Deshaun Watson was their starter. They went through 3 other quarterbacks till Joe Flacco came in and settled the ship. And all Joe Flacco did, he had some great games, but he was just that calming influence, and he didn't make a lot of mistakes until the playoff game. So again, I don't think you should discount the fact of that quality backup veteran quarterback is something that I think the Jets should really target, because I don't think that they're that far off talent-wise from the defensive side and the offensive side with the strong running game.
I totally agree with that. But first of all, we've got to remember, this is the New York Jets we're talking about here, number one. Number two is, if there's a good backup quarterback, can we afford him with what we need to get to where we want to go? No, we can't. We can't.
I don't know. It depends. It's really going to depend. KD, go ahead.
I mean, that's why I posted. I don't know if y'all seen it. A good for me, if I'm you guys, I don't bark up the Sam Howell tree at all. I have a perfectly serviceable quarterback here, and I think if Aaron Rodgers is not ready to go, I'm not sitting here saying that this guy would be a world beater. I am sitting here saying that based off the offense that you're going to ask him to do, or him to go out and keep you guys ahead above water, I think he can do just a good job of it. The other thing about it, he's going to give you an element to where the NFL offenses are starting to go, but having mobile quarterbacks. So I think this guy, he throws the deep ball pretty good. He has some decision making issues at times, but I don't think they're super egregious to where you can say, hey, look, this guy's not going to give me anything, especially if Aaron Rodgers does come back ready for the beginning of the season. Now this is just more food for thought for the young guy to basically learn and kind of develop. And then if you don't have to play him or rely on him, that makes it even better. He can basically sit underneath Aaron's wing for however many games you want, and say, okay, look, if we're going to let him get in the last couple games because we get ready to get into our playoff run. I think that would be the perfect scenario for you guys. Reason being, because I don't think a lot of teams are going to be seeking him. But I will tell you, as a good backup, that would probably be a good Band-Aid to the situation that you have, especially knowing some of the picks that you have, because I think you have 4 picks in the top 150, right? Something like that.
Let's go to the slide.
Yeah, so if you have those you have those 4 picks in the top 150, that lines up perfect, right? Because I don't have to take him in those first 4 picks. I can definitely get him at 186, right? Because again, he's not on anybody's radar. Now, that doesn't mean that the old crap meter doesn't go on come draft night or come draft week, because everybody starts to take a run on quarterbacks. And then now people are starting to say, oh, man, there's a panic. I know this guy, the 200th best player, but I'm going to take him at 97. Like, okay, you don't want that. But again, I think you can get him at 186, and that'll bridge the gap to what it is you want. That way you can focus on either side of the line that you want, because you don't have the Mekhi Becton project no more. And then I think you can kind of say, okay, look, now we can kind of let our hair down a little bit, and we could focus on maybe a receiver if you want to, 1 or 2 of those guys. Because, again, I don't think you're going to bring all of the Green Bay Packers receivers back. So,
sure.
I love it. And, it's now 6:15.
All right, let me go real quick because we started 1 or 2 minutes late. So I'm just going to go around here. The Jets have the 10th pick in the first round. So, Sean, let me ask you, where do you think they go?
Best offensive tackle on the board, period.
Okay. KD, is that your, and are you in agreement?
It has to be.
Eric.
Best lineman, tackle or guard on the board.
Yeah, if I'm the Jets, I would say if I could make a trade up, maybe to 7 or 6, depending, I would really try to target Joe Alt. If I was going to go and try to get the best offensive lineman, if that's what I need, I would try to pull off a trade and maybe get into the top 6 or 7, maybe move up a couple spots and try to target a Joe Alt. I think that would be a great pick for the Jets if they could do that. If they could convince a team to move down a little bit, get some draft capital to move down a couple picks. So, all right, that is our Jets talk. Up next, we have our man, Mr. Eric Witt, and he'll be speaking on the New England Patriots. Patriots at 69.8 in salary cap space.
That's a lot of money.
Free agents: Trent Brown, Mike Gesicki, Kyle Duggar, Mac Wilson, Ezekiel Elliott, Kendrick Bourne. Their draft picks, they got 7. They are 3rd overall, 34, 68, 103rd, 135th. Their needs: QB, D-line, O-line, safety, wide receiver, and tight end. Give it to us, Eric.
Well, looking at the depth chart for New England, you could pretty much list every offensive area as a position of need. Wide receiver, running back, skill players, quarterback, of course, the biggest one. So consistency with the quarterback. Last year with Zappi and Mac Jones, we didn't really see any consistency with New England, so it's really hard to judge the skill players based on that. With $68 million to spend, certainly some of these positions are going to get addressed. New England's linked to, and I think the favorite to end up with Justin Fields. We'll see what happens. It just depends on Chicago's asking price. If they do not end up with Justin Fields picking as high as they do, they're going to have a good opportunity to get a J.J. McCarthy or a Jaden Daniels or one of the top quarterbacks in the draft to build around. Alex Van Pelt takes over in his first year. Relatively unknown how the offense is going to look. Jared Mayo is a defensive-minded coach under the Belichick tree. The defense should look similar to how it looked last year, which wasn't a problem. A really good defense, a defense that hung in there. In a division where both Miami and Buffalo are going to be subtracting, should be subtracting, being salary cap deficits, they have a great opportunity to spend, if they spend wisely, to spin themselves back into competition with the high draft picks they have. So a lot depends on the quarterback position. I look forward to seeing how they address the quarterback position. Obviously, with Juju and some other receivers, they need a definite number 1 receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster is a okay complement receiver, but not a number 1. They need an elite running back. Hunter Henry is getting older at tight end. They have, obviously, offensive linemen, some questionable draft picks like Cole Strange. So it'll be interesting to see where we go with that.
Oh, wow. Someone's angry.
Who let the dogs out? But no, Eric, I agree with you. But I do not, and you guys can chime in too. I do not see the Patriots doing anything trade-wise to get a veteran quarterback. I think they're going to draft a rookie. They're going to allow Gerard Mayo to take over this team and get the players that they need from a rookie standpoint and let him build his own identity. Because moving away from Belichick, I don't think that the defense is going to be the same as Bill Belichick's defense. I think the one thing about the Gerard Mayo hire, while he was a Belichick guy and learned under Belichick, I do believe that they're going to let Gerard Mayo create his own identity. Bringing in Alex Van Pelt, I forget who their offensive or defensive coordinator is, who they brought in as their defensive coordinator. But I think you're going to see a shift in the Belichick way of doing things in New England. And that is why I don't think they're in a rush to be a contender or I think they're going to allow this team to build from within, use their draft picks to get a young quarterback to work with Mayo and the offensive side of the ball. I don't think they're going to go out and sign a veteran to some crazy amount of money or trade for Justin Fields because I don't think it makes sense. In our division, I think they need to draft a young guy and let him build so he can be there for the long haul. I think trading for a guy like Justin Fields could actually set them backwards. It's not because I don't think Justin Fields isn't a good quarterback. I just don't think the rest of the team is where they need to be to introduce a Justin Fields. I think they're a young team that needs to grow together, and that's just why I look at that. Eric, I'll let you continue now from.
Yeah, apologies. My dogs have never been fans of New England.
It's okay.
So anyhow, we've seen teams that in this similar circumstance rebound really quickly. New England has a capital to spend aggressively in a fan base that doesn't really tolerate patience. Typically, they've been spoiled by Tom Brady the last couple of decades. Most of them haven't been alive long enough to see the Bledsoe days, or even beforehand, even worse. So a lot of the younger base is impatient. I think there is an expectation to compete. So they have the capital to spend. It's a question of can they get the top tier free agents at wide receiver, which is a need, and some of the offensive weapons to be convinced that, hey, this is a team that can compete and you can get paid. Mike Evans, for example. So I think New England, we'll see what happens with New England. I think Mayo is going to have some patience with Robert Kraft. He's not the type to overreact and want to end up pulling the plug on him. I think it will be his own spin on it, but I think a lot of do your job and a lot of Belichick type things will stay in place because I think Kraft wanted to keep the environment the same there.
Okay, Davey or Sean, give me your thoughts.
Right. Okay, real quick. They got a ton of money, and they got a lot of great draft picks. I think New England's going to come back a lot sooner than people planned. Now, I definitely think they're probably going to target a Jacoby Brissett to come and lead that squad next year, so they could draft either Caleb Williams or the guy from North Carolina and get him a year watching what's going on. That defense last year was good, and they didn't have Judon. I mean, he got hurt pretty easy in the season, pretty early. And I got one more surprise thing that may happen on that defense, which you won't like, David. But they have plenty of money to go out and spend, and they are not that. They got to just get some heads up play out of a quarterback, and definitely receivers. Schuster gone. Get rid of him. He's cancer. So they definitely have some pieces in place, and I think they're going to come roaring back in the next couple of years, real quick.
No, I don't disagree. I don't think New England is far off. I think the quarterback is one of their biggest needs right now. Obviously, I think we all know that. But again, I look at it from the standpoint of I don't know if there's a quarterback free agent, with maybe the exception of Kirk Cousins, okay, who is going to walk into New England and give them that guy. Okay, because look, you can go out and you can sign a Mike Evans with the money you have. You can go out and sign a wide receiver, even a Gabe Davis. You go out and get Gabe Davis, okay, which I don't necessarily would think would be a bad fit for New England. They would have a decent number 2 receiver, okay. But again, if you look at the guys that are out there, the money you're going to have to spend on Kirk Cousins, older quarterback, obviously. I think he's 34, 35. And the money you're going to have to spend on him, okay, I just don't think I don't think it's a good fit for what New England needs to do from a long haul perspective. If New England was in a spot where go out and sign this quarterback for 2-3 years and we got a Super Bowl window, then maybe I could see that happening. But I just think that they still are pieces away. This is a strong division, and I think the best way that they should go about it, build through the draft, get your quality receivers in free agency, do that, or even if you decide, hey, I'm going to live with Mac Jones for another year, which I know they won't, or Bailey Zappi. I don't have to go out and spend $100 million on Mike Evans. I have the 3rd overall pick. I can draft Marvin Harrison Jr. and build up from that point. Get my wide receiver 1 in the draft because he's going to be cheap for the next 5 years. So, there's different ways they can go. Quarterback is definitely a need. Katie, what are your thoughts on New England and what you think they have to do?
First off, I need them to make sure their offensive line is up to par, because again, if you're looking at the defenses when healthy, everybody can get after the passer, right? So you can do one or two things. You can hey, I'm gonna go ahead and build my offensive line through the draft because you got enough picks to do it and you got enough money, right? You can also say, okay, look, all right, we can kind of reinforce our defense too, because you got some defensive players early on, the Dallas Turners of the league, where you can be like, hey, okay, look, I want to turn around and say, look, I want to get bookends. I want to have Judon and Dallas Turner, right? I could trade back and still get Dallas Turner, depending on who it is, right? And they could say, okay, look, we can get another prominent cornerback to pair up with Christian Gonzalez. So now if I have those two cornerbacks that's out there that can basically wreck shop in people's passing game while Judon gets home, that can be interesting too. So New England has tons and tons of options that they can go with. But I think they're going to probably go with the more safer situation. I do agree with them not be frowning upon a younger quarterback. I will tell you though, I don't see them overspending in any position because they're notorious for doing so. Hey, look, we're not going to go out and give a guy a $40 million contract if we don't have to. So that could bode well for some of the veterans that are looking for a second home. That again, I don't have those $40 million a year type of contract. However, I'll take $20 million and be okay. So a guy like a Jacoby Brissett would be interesting reuniting with the Patriots organization. So,
well, Anthony,
real quick. Oh, sorry. Real quick. I woke up in the middle of the night last night thinking about all this stuff, and I was like, Bill Belichick wouldn't do that. And it took me like 5 minutes to realize, holy shit, we're talking about the New England Patriots without Bill Belichick for the first time ever. I have no idea what these guys are going to do.
Right. Well, and that's just it. This new management team, the whole coach. I mean, now they have a general manager. Now they don't have the head coach in control of everything. So the whole New England dynamic is going to be something new to all of us, which is going to be something for the last 22 years that we haven't seen a New England team do. So, I mean, right now we're all playing the guessing game. So Anthony did ask a great question, and I'll ask your opinion. Would New England trade for Trey Lance and build around him?
You know, teams are going to try and act like that guy is the second coming of Jesus early on, basically saying, hey, look, we don't want to give him up. We think he's an integral piece to what we got going on. And I will tell you, as the draft gets closer, that confidence you have in that particular player is going to dwindle. It's going to slowly dwindle. It has done it. They've done it in the last few drafts. Hey, you traded a player for peanuts. The AJ Brown, the Hollywood Browns. You traded those guys on draft day or draft week, if you will, and you end up not getting the package that you had initially got from them because you played your hand too late. So again, if I'm them, I want to go ahead and get off of him. By all means, get off of him. But then on top of this, if you get off of him, and that guy goes up, and you compare him up with, I got a top 5 offensive line, and I got top 5 receiving options. I think that'll bode well for New England when it comes down to what they got on offense and defense.
So, I mean, to answer the question, I think Trey Lance is going to get some sort of opportunity to a team that isn't going to draft a quarterback. I don't think it's New England. I think they draft too high. But some team in the 20 to 32 range, I think, can take a chance.
Do we remember what Dallas gave up for Trey Lance? Was it a
I want to
fourth
say
or
third round pick, I believe.
Okay. So before we wrap up New England, just to go through it again, they picked third overall. Obviously, quarterback, D-line, O-line, safety, wide receiver, tight end. So, Eric, I will start it with you as you started with this. Where do you think they go at number 3?
So I think it's going to be a quarterback, and I think it has to be because I don't think they can do Mac Jones and Zappy again.
Are you sold on Jaden Daniels, or would you rather take Drake May, depending on the
To
first?
be honest with you, JJ McCarthy is doing really well, and he's rising up draft boards. I would not be shocked. They had success with one Michigan quarterback.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on New England? Sean, KD, you all good?
No.
All righty. Now, my man, KD, up next, we've got the one and only Miami Dolphins. This team
All
is
right,
in cap hell.
So Miami Dolphins is in cap hell, just like a couple other teams out there. But again, these numbers seem so crazy and outlandish. But that's literally probably 2 or 3 restructures, and they can get that either all gone or either get underneath it. So again, I look for them to restructure a bunch of contracts early on. Now, the real concern for me as we look at these different draft picks and whatnot is that top 150 is like the sweet spot. Because again, when you start to pick anything past that, it's like a crapshoot. Even though most of the draft is a crapshoot, I just think it becomes more of a crapshoot because now we're talking these guys that, hey, we don't even see the talent that's there. It's more of a, hey, you're a project, and I'm not expecting you to even make my roster. But however, if you do make my roster and you contribute, I'll be the best GM ever for years to come. However, out of those 5 guys that you pick after that 150, none of those guys make it. People won't say anything to you until 3 or 4 years down the road, and none of those guys end up on your roster or stay on your roster past that first contract. So for me, the interesting part is the offensive line, D tackle, cornerback, and tight end are needs, and not the linebacker position. If you looked at on the slide, Jerome Baker was a free agent, and they got another inside linebacker that's a free agent. So for me, for them to say, hey, okay, look, linebacker is not Nate Van Ginkel is the other linebacker. For them to say, hey, it's not a position of need, which is quite alarming to me because, again, those guys were maximizing their potential to even give them something when they started to get all those injuries. They got a bunch of injuries along the defensive line. I'm surprised none of the defensive line, outside of defensive tackle, the defensive end position, I'm surprised that's not a position of need because you were so far down in desperation mode that you signed Justin Houston in the midst of the playoffs to come in and try and give you some kind of supplemental shot in the arm as you guys prepare for the Buffalo Bills. So again, I just think myself, not the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Miami got to do the restructure first and foremost. And then there's 2 players of interest to me. It's Waddle, and then it's Xavier Howard. It's two players that's significant to me. Reason being because I don't have the draft capital, so I need to basically get a third, another third, or you get a second, or whatever it may be from either or of those players. If you feel like, hey, you're more put together in the cornerback position, you can probably trade the wide receiver. If you feel like your offense can handle it, trade the wide receiver. If you feel like, hey, your defense can't handle losing Xavier Howard, then, hey, okay, look, I got to trade the wide receiver so I can get me a defensive player or some picks. Because if you get the picks, I think the cornerback for this draft is not that deep, okay? You're gonna basically have to, throw some stuff against the wall and hope something stick for cornerback. The safety class is probably a little bit better, but cornerbacks is probably not going to give you what you need when it comes down to playing in that division. Hopefully, the division is a little bit lighter in the pass game, and then now it's not that big of a deal, so you don't have to go out and defend, guys that want to go up and down the field doing vertical routes. Now this who's this? Lil J? Lil J is saying Kool-Aid. Look, Kool-Aid McKinstry is probably going to be gone by the time they pick. They picked 21st. That's their very first pick. I can almost assure you Kool-Aid McKinstry is probably going to be gone because cornerback is a need for almost every team in the NFL because it's a pass-happy league. So a lot of people are not going to allow that guy to fall down. Now, a good guy that's a compliment to it would be the Georgia cornerback Lassiter. Kamari Lassiter could be a cornerback to look for. One of those guys that basically end up in Miami, if that what it is. So.
No, KD, I agree with you. You know, looking at the needs, like we talk about what these teams have to do restructure wise, and these guys are free agents. So the one thing I would tell you is that the contract that Tyreek Hill signed is absolutely insane, considering that he's going to retire next year. He said he's playing until 25 and he's retiring. At least that's what he says. If he's a man of his word, that's what he's going to do. So I think the first thing that happens is you're going to see the Miami Dolphins restructure a Tyreek Hill contract to put voidable years on the back so you can stretch that money out and then have that money disappear. So the cap hit will be taken up by restructuring Tyreek Hill's contract. But I think looking at those free agents, I think the two most important people on that free agent list that the Miami Dolphins really need to focus on re-signing from those two people that are going to be free agents is Christian Wilkinson and Van Ginkel. Both those guys are so impactful to that defense up front. I don't think they can afford to lose those two players. Van Ginkel's come on in the last 2 years. He's probably one of the best linebackers in the AFC East. I'm not going to say he's the best linebacker in football, but one of the best linebackers in the AFC East. The guy is a tackling machine. He gets his nose into almost every defensive play on Miami. I love the way he plays football. I love him. He's a great player. And Christian Wilkinson, you can't replace that. I mean, he's just that guy on the defense. He's that tackle that stirs things up and gets things going. So, you know, I look at these numbers right now and I'm like, well, that the salary cap hell is something that GMs every year have to go through. They'll get through it. They'll end up with $20 or $30 million to the good side of free agency, and they can still sign their guys. But again, it's just the mathematics of it all. Personally, at 21, if I'm Miami, I would be looking at another cornerback, but then or safety. I mean, even Karen Kitchens, the safety out of Miami. Okay. I mean, they have Xavier Howard. They still have Jalen Ramsey. So I don't necessarily know that cornerback is going to be their number one option. But again, you know, the two guys mentioned by you or McKinstry and the other dude from Georgia, definitely Kwame Lassiter, definitely quality cornerbacks. But if I'm them, I look at my safety position and I see that that's probably one of the weakest spots on that defense. And, you know, if Kareem Kitchens from Miami's there at that spot, I would not be opposed to Miami taking him. I think he'd be a good asset for that team. Eric, what do you got?
So I think Cooper DeJean, I think from Iowa, he's a fascinating prospect, and I think he'll be hanging around, and I think he's a ball hawk. He can play nickel. I'm certainly interested in him, and I think he's a potential fit there in the draft. Xavier Howard or Jalen Ramsey, one of them won't be there next year because they have Cam Smith too. And so I do think that they're going to lose one of their corners because I don't think you can just restructure and kick the can down the road and not avoid any losses. And the top two teams in the AFC are going to suffer some significant losses. I think corner is one where they can and they can get away with it. I don't see them necessarily losing their tackles. If you look at their contracts and who they're paying out, I was looking at that while you were talking. You know, Chubb is signed for $22 million, Xavier Howard 18, Armstead at 15, and then Okaba at 16.3. There's one I could potentially see a cut there, and I could see a Ramsey cut. There's $34 million right there, and then you could restructure the other 17 at that point, and that's feasible. Restructure Armstead, restructure some of their other guys, and you can make that work. But there will be some significant losses. I think they have to improve their pass rush. I think wasn't Melvin Ingram also one of these old guys that came in? KD, is that right?
Yeah. Then they cut him.
Yeah. You can't have Melvin Ingram and Justin Houston at the end of the year. That's not a feasible plan. So I think they go outside linebacker or defensive end in the draft. I think that's their first pick, and I think that's their weakness because you can have a mediocre corner if you have a good pass rush. You can get away with getting away with not great corners. I don't think the answer, and we found out this year, is having 2 expensive corners, and I think that's the lesson they'll learn here. So one of those guys will get cut, and that's kind of how I think they get there.
Sean, your thoughts on the
Miami's they're in trouble. They're kind of like the Jets and the Bills in the situation. Their window is now. That's a lot of restructuring to do, and I know we're going to talk about the Bills because the Bills are in as bad a position as Miami is. You really have to look at who are you trying to defend, because their defense is a problem. Unless it's cold outside, then their offense don't do shit either. Right now you got Stephon Diggs, you got to try to cover. You got Garrett Wilson, you got to try to cover until New England comes up with a number one. So the cornerback thing is a concern, but it's not as huge as people think. If these teams go grab another 2 wide receiver, a good one, then you need to address it. I think Miami's window, honestly, I thought it was this year, and I think they're going to drop off real quick. With all this restructuring they have to do, they don't have crap for draft picks. They've given them all away. They were going for a Super Bowl this year, and it started off looking great, but I don't think they're going to be able to overcome the Bills or the Jets in the next year or two. I think they're just lost, and they blew their wad for nothing.
Is Tua's 5th-year option this year?
No, they restructured him last year.
Did they restructure Tua?
No, they signed him to an extended contract.
Oh, did they? Oh, I didn't know if they because they didn't give him big money.
I'm 99% sure, but
and so I thought his 5th year was coming up this year. I thought he's playing on his 5th year this year with the big contract coming up. Because again, the one thing that we take for granted and the one thing that we forget, okay, especially at the quarterback position or any position for that matter, when a contract is up, you can take a quarter. You can take a player. You can give Tua Tagovailoa a 5-year or 8-year deal for $150 million, and let's say he's a $20 million cap hit this year. You can make him a $1.5 million cap hit this year and get $18.5 million in cap relief just by extending his contract, giving him $1.5 million base salary and a $19 million signing bonus. And then you spread that out of the life of the contract. So you can turn a $20 million cap hit into a $1.5 million cap hit like that. So those are the ways that that make that salary cap number disappear just like that.
Right. And you were 100% right. But the fact is the bill comes due. And the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins, bill is due, and now you're just going to kick it down the road.
Right. I know that, and that happens. That's going to happen to a lot of teams this year. But remember, every year that the bill comes due, the salary cap increases every year. So when you look at a team and you say, "Oh my God, they got this much in salary cap space today," what you got to do is you got to look at what the projected salary cap is, which the cap that they gave this year is going to go up. It's going to be over $250 million. They were projecting $243 million. So that's going to go up. So the cap space is going to go down. But more importantly, what you look at is the projected cap space out 2 years from now. Like 2 years from now, if I'm looking at the Buffalo Bills cap space, they have $180 million based on the projected cap space, based on the contracts that they have today. Well, that's how you look at it. That's how general managers look at it. You can shake your head, Eric, but that's how they look at it. That's how they adjust their cap.
Yeah, but you've got all these needs.
That is how they push money into future years because they know what they have in space 2 years from now. They don't look at it from this year.
And 2 years from now,
what money they're pushing away. And
you're gonna have all these needs in a big bloated contract and not be able to fill
okay, that's great, but it doesn't matter. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to get into this argument with you on this show. I'm just telling you how general managers look at their cap and look at what they do with their space.
So okay, yeah, we don't got to argue. I'm gonna ask a question. So,
okay,
does Miami believe in Tua after the 2025 season?
Well, again, I don't know if they do, and that's the thing that you have to, when you sign these players and give them extensions, and that's when teams are painted into a corner. When you have marginal, good to great athletes, but you don't know if they've reached their ceiling, like in the case of Baker Mayfield being the first overall pick in Cleveland. Cleveland was up to a point where, do we go out and get Deshaun Watson, who's proven, or do we lay all our eggs in a basket and have to start paying Baker Mayfield $150 million over 7 years? And Cleveland screwed the pooch 10 times over just by signing. But that's the point, is when you get to these 5-year windows with these guys, and that's why I say you get to a point where, do I believe in my guy to be that guy who's going to lead my franchise, or do I believe that I drafted a Kenny Pickett? So does a Kenny? I'm just saying. It could be Sam Howell. I'm saying you pick the guy in the first round, but do you believe that he's going to lead your franchise, or do you cut bait? And that's all I'm saying. But I don't mean it as that. I'm just saying. So, but I don't know if they believe in him. But maybe they have no choice but to, for their salary purposes. Go ahead, Katie. What were you going to say? So
for me, like, how many times are you going to see this same show with Tua, right? Because for instance, we've all seen them start, hot as fish grease, right? And then, for some odd reason, I don't know if it's injuries. I don't know if people start to catch up with them. I don't know if they get tired. I have no idea. But for whatever reasons, they fall apart, right? And there's been times to where, people are deliberately picking out parts of Tua's game, but basically saying, hey, he's a one-read quarterback, or he's not going to process anything outside of what's on the front side of the play or play side. He's not going to process anything backside. And if you have defenses that are smart enough, or coordinators that are smart enough to tell their players to look for X, Y, and Z, I just don't see how you can, in one season or one off season, you can fix that. You can rectify those issues, right? So for me, until I see that fixed, I don't think about it. I don't think we can turn around and say, hey, okay, Tua, you're the answer.
Oh, you're right. Oh, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm not arguing that point. I think, but sometimes all I'm saying is teams paint themselves into a corner where they don't have a choice. They either fold up shop, die a year, or they do what they have to do for cap relief and cap space. It's just, it's just one of those things. I can't see all the comments, but I'm sure they're all coming. I'll kick the can. I am kicking the can, man. That's what we got to do, because that's what Buffalo's going to be doing. But here, we're going to go to the Buffalo Bills right now, and I'm going to talk for a little bit, and Eric will sit there and smile and smirk and say all these other great and wonderful things. But anyway, Buffalo, salary cap, $51 million negative, $51.8 million negative. Free agents, Micah Hyde, Daquan Jones, Gabe Davis, Leonard Floyd, A.J. Epinesa, Jordan Phillips. Every one of those free agents, as far as I'm concerned, with the exception of one, is probably not going to be back in Buffalo. Draft picks, 28, 60, 99. Needs, O-line, which I don't necessarily agree is a need, seeing as how their running back was the fourth highest running back and their quarterback was the least amount sacked in the league, but everybody says we need an offensive line. whatever they want to do. Cornerback, linebacker, safety, wide receiver, and edge rusher. So let's talk about Buffalo. The way I look at Buffalo is this. You are going to lose Gabe Davis. You are going to lose Leonard Floyd. You are going to lose most likely AJ Epinesa because you're going to make more money elsewhere. You're going to lose Jordan Phillips, probably going to retire more so. The one free agent, if I'm Buffalo, that I do everything in my power to re-sign, and that will happen once contracts are redone and so on and so forth. Daquan Jones is probably not going to go anywhere. Buffalo will do what they have to do to re-sign that guy. I think him and Ed Oliver are going to make our defensive tackles. I think the help that we need is at wide receiver. The help we need is at safety. And the help that we really need is probably cornerback depth. I look at the Bills as a team that, first of all, Tre'Davious White. That's a prime example of a guy who got a contract, but a guy who's been injured the last 2 years. He's either going to take a pay cut, restructure his contract, or he's going to be cut post June 1st. Because I don't see any way that you can justify, because I think his days as a starter in Buffalo are over. I think Rasul Douglas will sign a contract extension, which will again spread out the cap. I think you're going to see Josh Allen restructure his contract, which will spread out the cap. I think you're going to see a lot of things happen in Buffalo. Restructure wise, because they have to. It's not a question of do you or don't you. It's a question of have to. The one thing I will say about Buffalo, which I didn't like about Brandon Beane's philosophy, is I don't have an issue if you're going to go all in and you're going to try to win a Super Bowl. Like, what I loved about the Rams and what they did is they traded away their draft picks. We all know that. Like, what's his name? Les Snead said, F the draft picks. But what they did that was very smart when they F'd the draft picks, they traded for guys who were on expiring contracts for the most part. For the most part, Matthew Stafford was not on an expiring contract. Aaron Donald had to get paid. Certain guys on that team had to get paid. But when you traded and brought guys in and gave up those draft picks, you were trading for guys on expiring contracts. So you didn't have to go and pay Von Miller $140 million for him to be on your team. As a matter of fact, because it was a base salary, and this is the thing about trading salaries that people don't seem to understand, you cannot do that and not have that team penalized for cap unless it is his base salary. So what happened was, Von Miller was supposed to get $9 million from the Denver Broncos, and that was his base salary. The Rams only had $5 million in cap space, and they didn't want to have to cut anybody. So the Rams took a 4th-round pick, gave them a 3rd-round pick, and the Denver Broncos paid $6.5 million of his $9 million salary because it's base salary. It's not future contract. It's not guaranteed money. Guaranteed money is the responsibility of the team, period. So you can't trade that. That is, no matter what happens, that guaranteed money accelerates to the cap year that you have that player, and that goes against your cap. So if Buffalo wanted to trade Stephon Diggs, $31 million goes against the cap. Can't get rid of it. You can't, unless he renegotiates his contract to take less guaranteed money before he's traded, gone. $31 million. Same with Von Miller. Same with Trey White. So those things just don't happen. So it doesn't matter how you do it. But anyway, that being said, I do believe that the Bills do take a little bit of a step back because they have a hell of a lot of needs to fill defensively. I still sit here today and say the Bills will draft a wide receiver in the 1st round because they will give Josh Allen weapons. If they let Gabe Davis walk, the wide receiver room is going to, in my opinion, I look at the Bills as drafting a guy like Adonde Mitchell or Xavier Worthy. Because, again, I look at that team as that team runs through the quarterback, and you have to have the weapons on offense. So if you run through your quarterback, you give him the weapons, especially if you let one walk, because you have to. So go ahead, Eric. I know you're laughing. You're the GM. You tell me what's wrong with everything I just said.
I want to see both of them win a Super Bowl, but I mean, you've got to address some of these issues with negative $51 million. You can't keep kicking the can down the road. In 2 years, you're going to have like $40 million contracts and $50 million cap hits, and they're going to need like 6 starters and have to be like Cleveland and have Deshaun Watson's gigantic contract, or be like Ben was for the Steelers a couple years ago, where it hamstrung our entire team. I mean, there's going to be some tough decisions to make. So in Buffalo, if you're all in, you better win it this year, or there's going to be consequences. Because even if the cap hit's going up, the cap's going up, the salary cap isn't a fictitious number, as you like to say, as one of my favorite quotes. You're going to have consequences, and so it's a matter of when you want consequences. Do you want a 32-year-old Josh Allen who's taking a lot of hits having a $60 million cap hit? Boy, I hope not, because that'll be a really rough team then. You're talking about a 4-13 team at that point. So I think they have to take a step back, and they have to address some of the needs, ideally, and get some younger core around them. They are the 4th oldest team in the league. The offensive line, as the year went on, started off in the top 5 in their ranking wise from PFF, and ended up at 17th as the year went on. So they took a step back. Their offensive line, as the season got on, started to give up more pressure. Deion Dawkins is a massive cap hit, and he's older. You got McGovern and Mitch Morse entering their 30s. Trust me, these are some issues they have to address about what kind of core we want to build on offense around Allen. He needs young superstars around him, not aging stars around him to see where they're going to go. So I think restructuring, I do think they try to go all in and try to win it now, because their window is closing. And is closing quickly with these guys at their age. I think the smart move would be, hey, we're probably going to take a 10-7, 9-8 year, and we're going to take a step back, get rid of some of these older guys, get some younger guys, and get them some playing time, so they could, in 2 or 3 years, be a real dynasty.
Eric, I see your point, but here's the thing you also got to remember. Okay, number one, I don't think they renegotiate Von Miller's contract, because Von Miller is cheaper to get rid of next year. So you don't renegotiate and then make it harder to get rid of him next year. You keep Von Miller's contract where it's at, and then you renegotiate, or next year you let him walk, because his cap hit next year is less than it is this year because of the guaranteed money. So when you pay him that money that's guaranteed, because that guaranteed money does not go anywhere. That guaranteed money goes against that team's cap. So if you traded or got rid of Von Miller post June 1st, before June 1st, that money accelerates to the cap this year. So next year, he's cheaper to get rid of. The salary cap will go up. You'll get yourself out of salary cap hell this year. Your salary cap will go up, and then next year you walk away from Von Miller.
He's only owed $6 million.
Huh?
He's only owed $6 million this year. Get rid of him now.
No, he's not owed $6 million. Yeah, he's owed $6 million in base salary, but all of his guaranteed money goes to the cap. So
if they make him a post June 1st cut, they can save $8 million.
No.
Trade him to
Trade him out. They can.
He is still
New England's got a ton of money. Go to New England or look at the Rams. Get rid of him, man.
You don't. Here's the problem. You look at the Bills' cap. You get rid of Von Miller. Who are you going to replace it with?
He hasn't played for 2 years.
He had 1 sack.
Who cares?
You could get a rookie that gets 1 sack. He did not have a good year.
Okay.
Sorry, the guy's been hurt for 2 years for you.
Okay, so get rid of Aaron Rodgers. He has Achilles. Why bank on a guy who's coming back from an Achilles injury? Oh my God. Get rid of him now. Save yourself.
You're talking apples and monkey wrenches, man.
Save just
come on.
Hold on. Okay. Hold on. So you got to restructure somebody though. Like there's no point in restructuring a guy with a $1 million salary.
Right.
I think that's what they're trying to get after. Like, it got to come from somebody, right?
Well,
So again, this $51 million that you're over, right? The restructure of Josh, restructure of Diggs, whoever it may be, right? But again, those two guys will probably give you $30 million, right?
well, right. And
They'll give you 30. They'll give you $30 million. Now, you got to sit here and say to yourself, some of your defensive guys got to take some of the brunt of that too. Because again, if I want these guys to stay on the roster, then you got to go to them and say, hey, this is why we're doing this. Because I need to keep you on the roster, or I need to keep such and such on the roster. Because if you let that core go, like Eric was talking about, if you let that core go, you got to replace it with something.
Right.
Otherwise, you are going to be a bottom feeder.
Sure.
And if you end up being a bottom feeder, you say, okay, look, I'll give myself 2 years of feeding from the bottom, right? But however I'm feeding from the bottom, I need to get 2 developmental pieces for the guys that I'm losing right now. That could be a young edge rusher. That could be a young receiver. So by year 3, I still don't have to pay them. However, they'll develop now. So now, guess what? I can now turn around. I'm out of cap hell. I got the cap. I got my young core. And then, oh yeah, by the way, these people don't need to be paid because they got restructured. So now we're there together for 2 or 3 years, and then our window probably could reopen.
Right. And well, there's a way that you can do that without putting yourself in cap hell. There's a way you can do that and restructure contracts and not put yourself in cap hell. They're called voidable years. They're not guaranteed money. They're not guaranteed salary. That's why when you push stuff forward into signing bonuses and then you add voidable years.
The voidable years got to be agreed upon by said player, correct?
Right. And right. Again, what happens in that renegotiation is this, Stefan, you're going to get paid your money. But what we're going to do, we're going to add 2 voidable years to your contract, okay? But we are going to take, if you have $30 million of guaranteed money, we're going to turn your $7.5 million base salary that we have to pay you regardless. And we're going to take that money. Hold on. But we're going to take another $20 million of your guarantee and turn it into a signing bonus. So you're going to get your money. It's just, and then we add the voidable years on the end. So at the end of the contract or whenever you cut them, those years are erased from the contract.
It still counts against the cap. It still counts against the cap for that year.
That's what they do. That's why they sign these outlandish, ridiculous contracts.
But okay. The thing that we're not looking at is when we talk about voidable years, right? We talking about the players that we know are going to be on rosters. Hey, look, if I let you go, such and such is going to pick you up. So you're not going to do. You can pull that with the Diggs, right? You can't pull that with a Von Miller because Von Miller could look. You can say I'm going to give you voidable years. They can do be like no, and guess what's going to happen? He's going to be out of a job. He's gonna be out of a job because again, like somebody said, 1 sack or 0 sacks in the whole year, nah. That's
why Buffalo is not renegotiating Von Miller's contract. They won't.
Why would he want to renegotiate?
It is cheaper to keep Von Miller for 1 year and get rid of him next year when his cap hit is less. You can get rid of them next year without half the damage that it would cost you this year, and that's why.
He doesn't produce. What are you going to get rid of him for?
Huh?
That he's worth nothing if he doesn't do anything next year.
Well, you don't know. He came back from an ACL, so Aaron, you don't know. You don't. We sit here and we look at a guy who's had 2 ACLs in 3 years. The fact that Sean McDermott paid him that kind of money, the year he came back from Denver, he had already torn his ACL that year, went to the Rams, won the Super Bowl, signed with Buffalo, paid him some, what the hell is he? Jesus Christ, what the hell is Jeff talking?
Jeff wants on big time. I'm sending him.
Don't look at my goddamn group. But no, the fact is, like I said, you look at the fact that Von Miller, being hurt, the fact that the fact that Brandon Beane signed him to that outrageous contract was insane. I don't agree with that contract at all. Okay, I never liked it. I didn't like the way he had to sign him to that kind of money. I think he could have spent that on a younger outside linebacker than Von Miller. But the fact that they did, and now he's in this cap situation, your best bet is to play with what you got with him, because you're already going to lose AJ Epinesa. You're going to lose those guys on the outside. This is the guy that's going to give you the least cap discrepancy next year. So you're not going to renegotiate this 35-year-old coming off an ACL again. You let him play out his year. You let him see what he goes through, and then you do what you have to do the following year. But I think wide receiver and safety are the two areas where Buffalo has to definitely, and defensive line. I think that's where they definitely have to look at. And they also have to look at replacing Mitch Morris. Mitch Morris is 34 years old. He's getting older. He's got a big contract. Now, whether that's, again, a restructure with voidable years, you draft a young guy to play, have Mitch Morris play one more year. And again, like KD said, those are all going to be issues that the GM has to have with the agents and the players have to agree to. And I think most of them will.
Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon.
What's that?
I've got them going center in the first round with Jackson Power Johnson from Oregon.
Oh, and you think in the first round that's what they should do?
I think they go center in the first round.
I don't know that. Oh, shit. Oh, he wanted the link. I didn't know that. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's like, called me on the phone.
Eric sent it to him. So he should be on in a
Sorry,
second.
Jeff. I didn't know that. You got the link.
So for fans of the page, Jeff and I have gone historic levels of debating the Bills. And so I could just see him cringing as he's listening to this.
Let me tell you guys, as a viewer to these rants, every day my phone goes off about 198 times between Jeff and Eric, and it's the same discussion every day. It's like watching two people with Alzheimer's sitting on a bench fighting over who's having the sandwich is what it is. And it's painful. Like,
yeah.
I have to turn my phone off.
I feel like I'm watching The Notebook between two dudes.
You never saw The Notebook.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
go watch The Notebook,
kind of
and then you'll come back, and it's like, because they seriously, guys, I'm getting off topic for a minute because Jeff's going to be coming on here to talk. But yeah, between Eric and Jeff, these two sit here and have the same discussion for 18 out of 24 hours a day. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Hold on.
All right.
Hold on. We go wait for that bullshit. Oh, where's my beard?
That's a lovely.
Fuck, where's my beard?
What are you doing?
Hang on, I can't take any more of this bullshit.
Are you there, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see you. You
Yeah,
can
I know
talk.
you can see. Yeah, no shit. I'm not trying to talk. I'm trying to fix my phone. I know what I can do. I appreciate your offer of helping me here, guy. What's going on? How you guys doing?
Nothing. You got a pretty shirt on.
Doing all right, man.
You going to visit?
Fantastic.
It's Hawaiian. I'm in Hawaii. Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm in Florida. How y'all doing? I like the conversation. I just caught the tail end of it as you're talking about Buffalo. But
Yeah.
give me a recap so I can enjoy the conversation as much as y'all did.
No, all we really were talking about in Buffalo is like my points were about restructuring, who to restructure, who not to. Eric's basically blow it up, suck for 2 or 3 years, and come back strong with the young core. But you don't want to have an old Josh Allen because he's going to get beat up, even though Ben Roethlisberger can play to 40 and be the number 10 best quarterback in the NFL. But but Josh Allen will fall apart at 32 because he isn't Big Ben. But anyway, besides that, So yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's all good. I mean, I like Eric's thought process, though it's faulty and false, and it is what it is. I mean, every year it's good to have a contender, right? I mean, when you're talking contender, obviously only one person wins a championship, but at the end of the day, you know, I think there's a lot of things that Buffalo needs to do. I think there's a lot of things that a lot of teams need to do. Buffalo has a lot of question marks, but I would tell you, is it makes me laugh solely because, you know, I'm not a power rankings guy and couldn't give two damns about a February power ranking. But it's funny to me solely because in January, the power rankings for next year came out. The start in Buffalo's at 5. Understanding where there's weaknesses, right? There's obviously draft implications. There's obviously salary income implications. You're at 51,000 or 51 million above the cap or below it, whatever, which way, negative, right? Negatively. And so the reality is, with all that stuff being there, the reality is simple. The cap is real, but the contracts, though dumb in certain regards, i.e. Von Miller, they're not completely dumb because there's their ability to restructure. They're not going to cut anybody. They're not trading Diggs. They're not cutting Von Miller. None of that stuff's real because there's salary cap implications for right now. And yes, it opens up some things in 2 years, but so does them leaving in 2 years. At the end of the day, the negative 51 million is significant. I don't know what that fund is. It's not mine.
That's Miami.
Who's got a Knight Rider out? Who's watching?
Sean's playing.
That's not Miami Vice. That's Knight Rider. That's not even close to Miami Vice. That was Knight Rider.
Well, whatever it was.
Like, how do you not
know? Sorry, I had to do it, man.
I think it might have been the Dateline theme.
No, that was listen, 1940 kid. That was anyway. Neither here nor there. But all that being said, there's going to be some really interesting things. I was telling David the other day, and I know you guys talked about some stuff, and I know that this is draft conversation and free agency conversation, but really not individuals, what are needs and things. I think what's interesting is that Sean and I talked last year about the Chicago Bears and what they had to offer in the draft and what they could do to get themselves like instantly better. Well, I think that it's an interesting thing that 12 months later or a little less than, the Bears hold the keys to the draft this year, right? Again, and in such a manner that is really a detriment, because we're going to talk over the next 3 months, show in and show out. There are obviously going to be some free agent conversations as that's coming, and there's going to be draft conversations because that's coming, and there's a combine that's going to happen. There's going to be movement of people. David's going to listen to Mel Kiper at least 500 times to even understand the college player's name, since he doesn't watch college football. But anyway, all that stuff is real. But what do the Chicago Bears do? That's going to dictate so much of the first 32 picks, and I don't care at what place you're picking. That is going to, I think the Bears are going to disrupt the whole draft with a very quick decision, and whatever decision that is trading Justin Fields or staying in number 1 overall pick. I mean, which, if they don't trade Justin Fields, they're not staying in the number 1 overall pick. But there's just so many implications that tie to the Bears, and I just think it's interesting that Sean and I had that conversation, and here we are again, about to embark on about a 90-day conversation that's regarding the Bears and what they decide to do. And this will be where we can really talk about the Bears general manager, Sean. I know we talked about it last year, and Dave was like, oh, he's an idiot, but it's only his second year. And this year is going to be kind of dictated. And I know this is an AFC East conversation, but I just still think that no matter what it is that we say Buffalo needs, Miami needs, the Jets need, the Patriots need, a lot of this stuff is going to hinge upon what Chicago does, because
how bad is hold on real quick. How bad does Carolina feel right now, being that they suck and that they need that?
Oh yeah,
and they
yeah, yeah. It's amazing, right? I mean, it's absolutely well. That's welcome to the firing of Frank Reich and the entire staff, right? And Tepper being just Tepper, but yeah, the Panthers have to be beside themselves, right?
Well, again, like
Sean? What do you think? What do you or David? You were about to say something, and I apologize, Eric and I.
No,
what were you going to say, David?
I agree with you in that the Bears are definitely the linchpin of the draft again this year. But again, from a draft perspective, I think a free agency perspective, totally different conversation. I don't think there's any linchpin than money. The money is where these guys are going to go. Whoever wants to spend the most money to get these guys is where they're going to go. So money,
David, who was it that had the most? Washington? Was it Washington who had the most money?
Yeah, they got like 83 million.
Or 83 million.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be really interesting because, again, Washington doesn't have an answer yet for what their future holds at the quarterback position with the availability of.
Right.
I listened to a couple good things today, but either way.
So again, I think, yes, Chicago definitely holds the key to the draft, okay, for the most part. But again, talking about Buffalo or the AFC East in general, I think the AFC East as a whole, with the exception of New England right now, is pretty much a lot in the same boat because you got a team in the Jets who is dependent on Aaron Rodgers to come back from an Achilles injury and perform at the high level. You got a Miami team in flux because they don't know if they're going to sign Tua. Do you sign Tua to a Joe Burrow type of contract? Is he worth that? Isn't he worth it? So you got that team in flux. Buffalo is in flux because they're in cap hell and they have a lot of guys on one-year deals. They have a lot of positions to fill. So again, in the AFC East, the driver's seat actually belongs to New England. The problem is they don't have anybody holding the keys to the car or have the door even open because they're young.
You know what I'm really, and I know you. Who talked New England? Was it Eric? Did Eric talk New England?
Mm-hmm.
Is that who it was that talked?
Yeah. That's me.
So
yeah,
I missed the conversation, but I'm really interested in your perspective, Eric, just by virtue of what you looked up. So New England has the third pick overall in the draft this year. I'm wondering. Yeah, but I'm wondering with their pick, if are they going to try to hang out onto Mac Jones or Zappy, whoever it is, and go after an actual receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. to give these guys some level. I mean, we've talked for years now about Mac Jones not being the guy. We've talked about Zappy not being the guy. But give me a wide receiver or even an offensive threat outside. I mean, of anybody on that team. Do you think that at this point, based on what they do have, based on the new direction, are they going to go for a quarterback at 3, or are they going to try to get the best receiver in the draft at 3 to at least put around their quarterback to give him a shot to actually look like he's worth the pick that they picked him at to begin with?
Jeff, I think it depends on the asking price of Fields. I think they have the cap space to get a Justin Fields in there, and I think if they get a Justin Fields, a Marvin Harrison Jr. would make a lot of sense. If they cannot land a Justin Fields, I think it's easier for them to get a T. Higgins and Mike Evans together to put around Jaden Daniels or to put around J.J. McCarthy. And from what I read and from what I'm seeing in New England, they're very hot on J.J. McCarthy. He's rising up their draft board.
Yeah, and I saw
I will
that.
tell you this today. I will tell you this today. The franchise tags started today or start tomorrow or today.
T. Higgins getting tagged.
T. Higgins is getting franchise tagged. He's not leaving Cincinnati.
Well, I mean,
for $20.7 million, that's crazy, but good on him.
There's Mike Evans, there's Calvin Ridley, there's other guys they could put around a young quarterback.
And there's the cat from what's his name from Indy, and there's you're right, Eric. At the end of the day. But let me ask, and it's funny, and I guess maybe KD since hasn't talked since I've jumped on. But I'd like to hear KD's perspective on Justin Fields. I don't understand for the life of me where this intrinsic value has been driven from. I mean, one, I haven't seen anything from Fields that would make me interested in him, except for lining him up as halfback, maybe on my team. From a quarterback perspective, there is no offense that's driven like the years past Baltimore Ravens, where I think he would have fit well in that type of offense. I don't see him fitting in an offense anywhere else. And oh, by the way, from what I understand, the asking price looks like 3 first-round picks or some ridiculously silly conversation. So KD, where do you see? Well, one, do you see anybody in 31 teams paying that price for Justin Fields at all? And then 2, why is Justin Fields an actual option over top of Mac Jones when neither one of them are worth a damn at this point in their career, but one has a playoff win?
I think it's the how you want to put it. I think it's the will of Justin Fields has kind of got him there because let's be real, Eberflus wasn't the best coach for a talent like that, right? Like the guy was probably already limited as it is, right? But then for to say, hey, okay, look, all right, I'm gonna put you in a limited situation as well. I just didn't think that ever jived with him. Now he did have some flashes in the pan with DJ Moore and then a couple of the other guys. I will tell you, his ceiling is probably higher than Zappe and Mac Jones probably combined, right? Mm-hmm. And I think if New England thinks, hey, okay, look, we can do that. If we just unlock him, say, hey, look, I just need him to get, two touchdowns a game and we'll be fine. Rushing and passing, I don't care how you do it. Just give me 2, and I think our defense can keep us in most of the games, right? The other thing that I'm looking at is if they can pull that off, right, they would still be within striking range of getting another receiver like an Xavier Legette. They can get a Brian Thomas from LSU. They got a lot of receivers they can pair after whatever they get in free agency. So if you end up getting a Justin Fields, you end up having Legette, and then you turn around and get a Calvin Ridley or something like that in free agency, that could bode well, right? And then only thing you need now is to show up your offensive line. Believe it or not, the offensive line wasn't as bad as we thought it was. It's just the fact that the decision making from the quarterback position put them behind a lot of times, and once it put them behind, it just got disgusting because they didn't have the run game, and along with the bad quarterback play, I just think it wasn't something that they can say, look, along with those defensive injuries, they spent most of their time trying to figure out what we're going to do offensive or defensively, and most of the time they just came out and they was freelancing for the most of the games they were playing. So I do not think anybody will take the bait on the Justin Fields because all the teams that are quarterback needy kind of have a position. They're in position to get a quarterback. So I don't think anybody would jump on that, especially with the quarterbacks coming out the way they're coming out right now.
Right.
I think it's two. Wait, Jeff. Sean has something to say.
I got 2 things. The number 1 team that the Chicago Bears need to tantalize is the Las Vegas Raiders. This is a team, besides the Jets, makes the worst decisions in the world. So either they're going to keep Justin Fields and have the Raiders jump up to the number 1 spot for a huge haul because they are just dumb. Or they're going to trade away the Justin Fields and grab the 1st, 9th, and 12th round pick. I think if they go for the Raiders, maybe they're going to get the 2nd round pick, but I think the Raiders they make some bad decisions. I know Denver needs in need of a quarterback, and they could trade up to number 1. I just don't think that Denver is going to pay that price.
I don't think Justin Fields is going to get the number 1 pick.
No, I don't think it's going to be. I would be blown away that if someone, and maybe to your point, Sean, maybe it is the Raiders, but I would be blown away sincerely if any team in the NFL trades a 1st round pick for Justin Fields. I just don't see it. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some athleticism.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I
totally agree with you.
I can't necessarily agree with KD's assessment of bad quarterback play in New England. I mean, it is bad quarterback play. Don't get me wrong, but at the mercy of having 0 athleticism across your team. I mean, when Zeke was your 3rd down back, and he was years removed from being a real back, and they nothing that they had was viable. They're 0 receivers of threat, right? And so. Yeah, Mac Jones, Zappe played poorly. I mean, unless they played against Buffalo, because I know, there was 29 points scored in that game. But the reality
remember we're talking about a quarterback that had back-to-back pick 6s.
Well, no, I listen. I get.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not.
No,
Hell,
see,
Dak
that's
had
what I
back-to-back
asked
pick
too.
sixes.
Jeff, I asked the same question about Mac Jones. Do you keep Mac Jones and draft Marvin Harrison? I stay at 3 and draft Marvin Harrison. And I said that for the same reason. Because look, here's the facts. And I'm not a Mac Jones fan. I don't think he was a good pick in 2020, and I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback. But here's the thing that I will say. If you bring in J.J. McCarthy, if you bring in whoever, unless you're New England and are going to go out and sign Mike Evans for $100 million, that would be a dumb contract because the guy's 32 years old, and I guess Stephon Diggs ain't worth anything at 30. So Mike Evans, how could he be worth shit at 32? How could he be worth $100 million if Stephon ain't worth whatever he's worth at 30? So again, the facts are, and their stats are just as comparable, so you can't tell me one is better than the other. Go look at the stats. You told me Ben Roethlisberger's all day. But the fact is, like I said, you when you're a team like New England and you have a young quarterback who has been under Matt Patricia as the offensive coordinator when he's a defensive guy, okay, there was no rhyme or reason to New England's offensive coordination under Mac Jones. At all. None whatsoever. The 1 year he had Josh McDaniel, then McDaniel left for the Raiders, and he was out of a job. So the facts that Mac Jones has been in an inconsistent offense for the time he's been a quarterback without any weapons around him whatsoever. Okay. If you gave the guy weapons and you actually have, you have Alex Van Pelt, who did good things in Cleveland, even with Stefanski, the year that what's his name, Baker Mayfield led him to the game against Kansas City there in the divisional round or whatever it was. I forget what round they got to. Alex Van Pelt was the
got to the second round.
Yeah, so Alex Van Pelt was the coordinator there. He's been an offensive coordinator. If I'm New England, I'm saying let's get some skill guys around this guy to see if this is what we really don't have instead of wasting a pick on a guy who still might be the same thing as Mac Jones. We'll just draft him at number 3, and maybe we don't get anything better than what we had. And now we still have to build – now we still have to go out and get aging veterans or wide receivers around this young guy who's no better than Mac Jones. So you're either one way or the other. And to me, I'd rather build an offensive core with like a young guy like a Marvin Harrison Jr. and go out, keep my Mac Jones. And if it doesn't work out, either the following year, sign a veteran or draft a rookie because you're going to be in the same position you probably are this year or close to it. But then at least you have a young core of people. And then if all you need is that experienced veteran quarterback to come in to guide that young core of offensive talent that you amassed in the draft, that's an easier thing to do if you have that money than it is to go and build a whole team around another quarterback in another system.
Dave, I love how you get all your digs in on me when you make your point. I sit there and it's just like the chat. It's Eric against the world, baby. We're getting beat up everywhere. About the digs and all that. Here's my point is C.J. Stroud changed the Texans, did he not?
But there's only one C.J. Stroud. Better get lucky.
Okay, and I understand. But there is this is a quarterback deep draft. So, I mean, ideally, this is a draft where you've got supposed to have game changers. Caleb Williams, I think it's top heavy with quarterbacks. And so if you miss out, let's say you put Marvin Harrison and you've got Mac Jones, and he throws back-to-back pick sixes again. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to want out of that franchise real quick because he's not going to want to put up with it real quick. You're going to have a case of what was going on with in Pittsburgh with Pickens. He's not unhappy because he's not getting good quarterback play. So I think it's imperative that you have a good quarterback to keep a wide receiver happy, especially if he's not getting the ball. And let's say his first 3 years he's averaging 546 yards. He ain't going to be happy because he ain't getting a good contract. And so I think you have to, ideally, what you have at quarterback. You have to take your opportunity to get a franchise-changing quarterback Because a franchise-changing quarterback can change your franchise in a heartbeat.
Yeah, the only thing, and I'm not arguing that. I think everything you just said is spot on. The only problem I have with the notion that, I mean, in Pittsburgh, Pickens is upset because Pickett can't do it, and I know he knows that, right? I mean, there's frustration because no matter what, he can't do it. He knows it. So when they changed to Mason Rudolph, he got excited because Mason Rudolph did do it, right? Now, I think the only difference is that you don't have a receiver in New England right now that's saying he can't do it, meaning Mac Jones. It's because they don't have receivers that can bitch about it. Pickens is a good receiver. I mean, coming out of college, the only problem with Pickens was the fact that he had some self-control issues, right? But at the end of the day, that's self-control issues. No one ever talked about his talent. The dude is talented. I mean, he is an amazing receiver if he can keep his head together. He will be mad and he will be angry because he, unlike any receiver on the Patriots lineup or roster, he's actually good. I'm just thinking to myself as we look at it, yes, would we want a Caleb Williams? I surely don't, but that's just my opinion. We'll see how he turns out. But again, everybody that you're going to draft, the quarterback class is thick here. And whoever it is that you're going to go and get, the idea is they'll be better than Mac Jones, but it's still an unknown commodity in the NFL where Mac Jones is a known thing, but he's known with unproven and unheralded receivers. For me, you're still paying Mac Jones little dollars. He's not there to his big contract yet. He's still less money than a first round draft pick because he's not in the top 3 anyway, right? So he's not getting paid that number. I would just assume try to equip him with whether it be a good veteran that's costly as well as a good receiver that's out of the draft. Hey, can someone do me a favor because I can't do it while I'm driving? Can someone please pull up who the top 5 or what wide receivers went in the first round last year? We had this conversation last year, but I don't remember. If someone could please just give me the first round draft choices.
Yeah, but I will, Jeff, and let me just to your point and to Eric's point about the quarterback class. In 2018, that was a quarterback class too. There was Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen,
Josh Allen,
Lamar Jackson. 2.5 of those quarterbacks panned out. And the other ones that were the higher ranked of the group didn't pan out. So you can have Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Caleb Williams, the other dude from
Washington. Penix.
Yeah. There's Penix. There's who's the other guy? The third guy.
Yeah, I know you're talking about Bo Nix.
No, the Nix, and then there's the one that was before that. There's Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels. So these guys are all names. They're all great college quarterbacks. One or two of them pan out in the NFL. And if you're not one of those teams that didn't draft those 1 or 2 that didn't pan out, you're back at square one in 2 years. And that's the issue that a lot of teams have. And it depends on what system they go to. I mean, I look at the Josh Rosen thing in 2018. Josh Rosen might have been a terrible quarterback, but he also went to a team that didn't want him because they hired a coach that didn't want him. The guys that drafted him hired a new coach, and the guy didn't want him. And then he went to Cleveland or wherever the hell he went to, or Miami as a backup, and they didn't want him, and they didn't use him. And so there's guys like that who have this high pedigree and are going to come out and be the next big thing, and they're drafted into systems that totally go against. It's kind of like Malik Willis with the Tennessee Titans. Why would Tennessee ever draft a Malik Willis? Not that he isn't good. He's in the wrong system for his skill set. So you go to a team that wants you to be somebody you're totally not. And then your career is down the toilet because you never get a chance to prove it in the right system. So that's just how I look at that. So there's no 100% guarantee whether you're drafted first or you're Brock Purdy and drafted 254th. It's a crapshoot. And I guess if I'm New England, do I take my known and fill my team with playmakers around the known and maybe make that guy that I have and give him the tools to make him even better or get him better? Or do I just drop bait and then have to start over with somebody else, and then hopefully I can fill in the pieces around them that make them better and spend a lot more money doing it? That's just the question.
You draft a quarterback. Period. New England drafts a quarterback. Number 3.
Okay. Well, I get it. I understand it. That's the most important position. So
You might be able to get it. You might be able to. A lot of teams, Joe Burrow and Chase, all in the same draft. Pittsburgh was thinking, hey, Pickett and Pickens, I believe, in the same draft too, and Pickett didn't pan out. But the idea was you got a quarterback and a wide receiver. New England's picking high in the second round. Tez Walker. There you go. There's your wide receiver to go with your quarterback in the first pick.
Jay, yes, Jordan Love does, because Jordan Love sat in that scheme for 4 years and learned it before he ever had to step foot on the field. So whether he fit Aaron Rodgers' scheme or not, he had the luxury of playing behind it and learning that scheme for 4 years. And now he's doing it, and that's why when he came in this year, he performed at a high level. He had the time to develop.
Hey, Eric, did you say Burrow and Chase were drafted at the same time? Is that what you said?
Was that the same year or were they a year apart?
No. Well, Burrow was drafted, then T. Higgins in the second round. Then the next year, they picked Chase in the first round. But either way, I mean, I get what your point was. But you're right. They went for a receiver and a quarterback tandem. So I don't necessarily believe that New England won't do that as well. But I also believe that there's someone that's got to address that from the draft. And what is it? Did anybody look up those 5 receivers or the first round receivers from last year?
Yeah, I got it.
I mean, David said he was going to, but I know he was talking a lot, and I know he couldn't do it.
Sorry.
So first one was JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Yeah. Next one was Quentin Johnson by the Chargers, Zay Flowers by the Ravens, and then Jordan Addison for the Vikings. And then there were no more. There were no more
in the first round.
The
only receiver out of all of those that made a difference were none. Don't get me wrong, Zay Flowers had a hell of a year. The other 3, whatever. I know Addison did a couple things, but the other 2, neither here nor there, had a couple good plays. Zay Flowers was a decent pickup. He did well for them, right? Up until the playoff game, but for the most part, he did well. I say all that to say this. I remember saying last year that none of those 4 were worth the damn pick in the first round. They did it, right? Puka Nacua obviously had the best rookie year, and I don't remember what round that dude was drafted in, but neither here nor there. This year's receiving draft class is so thick that, again, we sit here and I watch a lot of the NFL, whether it be ESPN or all the other places that are talking about receivers specifically, and just the amount and the depth at any round. I'm really excited this year. I mean, I think, like David, you mentioned the 18 quarterback class. I remember the 84 quarterback class. There's been a couple quarterback classes to where you can compare them years later and be like, wow, how amazing was it, really? I think this is the receiving class that in 5 to 10 years from now, we're going to look at the amount of receivers, especially the ones that came in the latter rounds. And that's why I guess the point of my conversation is, as we're looking at teams and what their needs are, some of these teams are really gonna win, right? They're gonna win because they're gonna have some picks later in the draft with the thickness of the wide receiver core. And I'm really excited to see what the 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounds come out with. By the way, if you heard that noise in the background, that was my car saying, you have no gas left. I forgot to stop to get gas. I'm about 5 miles away from a gas station, and my car just said 0. So we're going to test the theory on how long after that dinging happens that someone actually runs out of gas. So I'll keep.
You're going to the left of E, the Seinfeld. You are awesome, dude. We got to stay on until you get to a gas station.
I'm well past the left of E.
Nice. One thing I'm going to say is one thing that drives me. Yes, we're going to the left. Fuck Seinfeld. This is reality television at its best.
That's right.
But one thing I have a huge problem with, and college is considered like the farm league for the NFL. And I have a big problem with this. There's too many players, too many teams. And being open as a wide receiver in college is not the same as being wide receiver as a pro. Being a great tackle in college is not the same as being a left tackle at pros. I mean, they're miles away. And this is kind of why I'm halfway excited for the XFL, whatever they renamed it now, because we have had people come from those leagues that are NFL worthy players.
Very few.
And very few, but the ones that have been taken have been really good.
No.
And I understand wanting to skip that because you don't want to get injured, but we're talking about, these top 5 receivers, and they are good, but until they get to an NFL level, you don't know how someone's going to be. Like Mekhi Becton, everyone was like, "Oh my God, this guy's the best left tackle coming out of the draft." The Jets got him. He didn't do shit. So
Sure.
It's so tough to put all your eggs in this basket for these people who don't compete at the highest level, thinking they will persevere. Certain people do. Most just do not.
Well, I think the problem is it's the expectation of a first-round pick against the reality. Everybody expects the first-round pick to be flawless and a superstar. And the fact of the matter is you're a football player, and whatever impact you impact your team with is what's going to judge. He made it.
He was to the left of E, and he made it. God damn it!
But
he
again,
should have kept going. He could have gone more.
Like I said, we like in Buffalo. Like I love Khalil Shakir. I think he's a great wide receiver. He's drafted in the 5th round. It's your expectation to the reality. The reality is every fan expects your first-round pick to be your superstar. Your first-round pick is going to be all-pro. Your first-round pick is going to be a Hall of Famer. Your first-round pick is going to be.
You know why? You know why though? You know why?
Pick him in the first
because
round.
that's what fans do.
No. Because we've said ourselves, the first ones to get taken are the better ones. When we know in all reality, there's a 5th rounder that will outplay a first rounder in every stinking draft. As long as we've been doing this, as long as we've been having football seasons, there's been a 5th or 6th or 7th rounder or even undrafted that'll outplay a first rounder every stinking time. So again, I don't fault the fans, right? I fault the scouting departments, right? The Mel Kipers, the Todd McShays are telling you, hey, this guy is worthy of this first-round draft pick. He's going to be able to, catch lightning in a bottle if we need him to. And then you get out there and this guy can't catch HIV.
Well, and that's why, like the general manager, that's why the general managers sit there and say, well, who the hell are these people? Yeah, they're going to project these guys. The GMs make their money picking the middle rounds because, number one, let's put it this way. The guys who are picked 4th, 5th, 6th round, 7th round, undrafted, okay, the first rounders and second rounders feel like they're entitled to it. We were picked because we're the best. The 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounders and undrafted guys come in hungry and want it more because they have to earn it. They have to work for it. The first rounders are giving it to them on a silver platter. The other guys work harder for it, and that's why they outshine the first.
They deserve it. They're not entitled. They earned that number one spot. Now, what are they? But those are what you call the value picks, right? They're almost free chicken, right? So they're getting 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round guys for next to nothing. Yeah, they're going to work their ass off to stay in the league, but those are the guys where like the teams that I see do really, really well. Obviously, you saw the post I put, and it wasn't to applaud so much Kansas City for their mid-round picks, but truth be told, most of those are really good mid-round picks. But the teams that have historically done well in the middle rounds are the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get a lot of their linebackers that stay around in the second, third, fourth. Those are value picks.
Jeff,
I don't think they're
I'll
working
tell
hard
you right now, Kansas City's defense this year was built on mid-round picks.
Sure.
Chanel, Karloff.
Their entire team is based on mid-round picks this year.
But I mean, no doubt.
Yeah. I got two things real quick. I'm sorry, Jeff.
No, please.
Did you just walk in and pay for your gas and not pump it? Because that was real fucking quick.
No, I got this thing. Hey, check this out, man. So what's really cool in 2024 is you got these cards and you pay it at the pump, so you don't got to go in. So I went to the pump and paid for it, and then I pumped it, and then I came back in. I didn't fill up my tank. I want to get home. So I just
because I was like, God damn, that was so quick. I mean, what you get, like 30 cents worth of gas? Are you driving an EV?
No,
20.
Hey, Sean, don't let them fool you. That motherfucker's a prior NASCAR pit crew member.
Yeah, look, I got 138 miles. That's what I did because I got to drive tomorrow to the airport after. So I just need I just need gas enough to drive to the airport tomorrow. So I'm good. I do this economically. I don't like a lot of people will go and just fill up their tanks so they don't have to go back. I go to the gas station randomly throughout the course of the week because I only get like $20 at a time. I'm that guy.
All right. First of all, Eric just won the internet tonight.
What did he say?
He said, Kitty's Moment sponsored by Dave's Crab Creek. Catching deals where you can. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. That was number one, and I got so caught up in you're getting because you're getting gas has now become like the focal point of the show.
I appreciate it. Listen, everything I do is kind of important, right? I mean, no matter what it is, so getting gas was important. I survived.
Yeah, and that outfit, man, I swear to God, it looks like you're driving back from Fire Island.
I'm not really sure what Fire Island is, but I just went
to I bet you don't.
I don't. We just had a dinner down by the beach. So I went to the dinner down by the beach in my beach attire.
Yeah, sure.
All right, now I'm confused.
Yeah, I get it. For work, I had to work there. But here's my question, right? So I know we probably are well over time. I'm sure we're well past the 1 hour. But I can't tell. I just know that we are because I came in after the hour.
I mean, we were right on time, man. We were like all ready to wrap up. And Jeff, let me come in.
Hey, I called you 5 minutes after, and you weren't, and you didn't answer the phone. So I figured, let's go. We want to talk still.
Well, I'm like, why the hell is he calling? I'm in the middle of the damn show.
Well, you wouldn't be in the middle. You should be at the end if you did it an hour. It was an hour and 5
Hey,
minutes.
listen, Dave. He saved you because you were taking a beating on that Bills debate, and Jeff came in.
I was not taking a beating. These guys don't understand the salary cap and what the hell's they're doing.
Neither do you.
I most certainly do.
Well, I'll tell you, here's the only thing I will agree with, and I didn't even hear what he was saying, but I can guarantee you it has something to do with moving on from Diggs, moving on from Miller, and moving on from whoever. The reality is there is no moving on from those two guys. There is no cash savings. And I mean, it's just not going to happen because the reality is no matter what Eric says, there is no fan base that in Buffalo that is going to accept Brandon Beane still having a job if he was to put us into a position to where we cannot compete.
You are more broke than the Saints, but I was talking about your offensive line starting the year in the top 5 and ending up at 17 because they're aging out. I never once mentioned Von Miller. And Dave went on a Von Miller rant.
Listen, I don't understand. Can I ask this question real quick? Can I don't understand. And again, we can talk rankings all we want, right? I don't care again about rankings because we can go to PFF and I don't use it unless I'm fucking with you because you fucked with me, so I'm just doing it in return. But here's the deal: Buffalo is the number.
What?
We had a third highest runner in the NFL. I don't understand what that means, right? So and don't get me wrong, I don't understand what a lot of stuff means because when I look at this guy who's a Pro Bowler and this guy who isn't in the offensive line position, I'm like, yeah, whatever, cool. You have someone there. But when we're talking about ranking and aging and all that stuff, we could have started off as 2 and ended at 32. Our offense was a top 5 offense. Josh Allen was sacked the least. We had the number 3 overall running back in the NFL. So I'm not sure of what those numbers mean, but our offensive line holding up for Josh Allen inhibited us once from winning, and that was the last play of the game in the playoffs. And I get that when Jones ran through Dawkins, but for 18 other games, it played no role in our demise, right? So I say that to say I don't necessarily agree with you. I would tell you if I'm a Bills guy, which I am in a sense, but I don't know what the fuck they're gonna do, and I sure as hell know Brandon Beane isn't gonna call me to ask my advice. But I look at it and I see the free agent list. Yeah, Gabe Davis is gone. I get that. But if you look at our defensive losses through free agency or whatever could be potential losses, that's going to be an issue. So when I look at that, I see in the history of Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane, we'll draft the safety out of Iowa in the first round. We'll find a receiver in the draft. We'll do some things to shore up things. We'll mess with our budget and renegotiate and extend contracts. We'll free up $25 million with Josh Allen by extending him out a year. We'll do the same thing with Von Miller to bring back some cash. We'll do some things with Diggs to restructure stuff, and we'll be well on our way to signing.
You're not going to restructure Diggs. You're not going to restructure Miller. Miller's playing this year, and then because the cap ramifications will be felt further down. You're gonna. What you're gonna do?
I hear all that, and that's cool.
Well, what you're gonna?
Listen, hold on. Listen. You sat here for like 45 minutes to talk about Buffalo, which is why you were taking a beating. I didn't ask you.
I wasn't. I was finishing my.
Listen, fuck chop. I'm finishing my goddamn thought. There you go. All I'm saying is they're gonna do something, right? And they're gonna address their needs. And guess what we're gonna have on the roster next year? A starting roster. And it's going to be competitive to some level. What does that mean? Does that mean Super Bowl contender? I would say yes, because the fact is we're a playoff contender. And if you get to the playoffs, ask teams like, I don't know, I don't even know. Ask Kansas City. They were the
New York Giants.
Let's ask Pittsburgh. Are they a Super Bowl contender? They got to the playoffs.
Well, no, but the reality is no, I do believe they are if they're in the playoffs. Listen, if they didn't suck, they could have contended. That they weren't good. But the bottom line is Kansas City was the number 3 seed, and they went on and did it. And Kansas City is not, by any stretch of the imagination, the team that was favored to win, but in the beginning of the playoffs by anybody but Kansas City fans, right? The reality is they got to get to playoffs, and then coaching mattered, and so did playing, and all that good stuff. But all that being said is the teams that don't make the playoffs are not contending. The teams that do have a chance, whether it's a real chance or an outside shot. Buffalo will have a real chance or an outside shot when they make the playoffs again next year. That's what I know. What Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott do, they're not going to listen to David either. But at the end of the day, they're going to do something. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that, David. Please tell me.
I remember my second thought real quick. I'm going to, because you guys keep mentioning Beane. And it brings me right back to Moneyball. About all these first round, second round, third round. You tell these parents you know. You don't know. Yeah. And that's the shittiest thing about the draft is you don't know.
You don't. Agreed. Hey, by the way, and I didn't miss everything. Hey, David, I know you wanted to. But, David, didn't you talk about Buffalo for like an hour?
No, I didn't. I talked about it for 10 minutes and let these guys talk. You're the one who won't let me finish because – they started beating up on me.
What the fuck were you? How did I not let you finish? I wasn't even here.
What?
I wasn't even here. How did I not let you finish?
No, I was still talking my point when you had to jump in, and you're like,
"Oh yeah, well that's because Eric sent me a message say, please have him stop talking. He's ruining our show. We're going to be off the air."
All I said, and all I was trying to say, is I don't know how Micah Hyde has a dead cap hit when he played out his contract, unless they pushed it into another year. But again, my point is this: I don't care what the salary cap looks like today because the Bills are going to end up $20 to $30 million over the cap by the time free agency starts. They have specific people that they need to re-sign, and Daquan Jones is one of them. I think Trey White is going to be a casualty of his injury coming 2 years in a row. I think that if he doesn't redo his contract and take a pay cut, I think he's gone because they can afford to get rid of him and carry the dead cap over or push the cap back. So I think Trey White is probably not going to be here unless he takes a pay cut. But again, all of these teams, just like your Pittsburgh Steelers, who were over and all of a sudden got under the cap because they cut this guy, okay, did this, blah, 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 and all of a sudden they have money because it happens every year. We don't have to worry about what their cap looks like today.
Holy
It's what happened by the time free agents start. So again,
you're telling me you're gonna go from negative 51 million to positive 20 to 30?
Yep. Absolutely.
I want whatever you're smoking, man, because that shit
Just
is
watch when free agent starts and you'll see how much money they have. Very easy. Here, I can tell you, I can tell you right now, because I've been looking this up.
The Bills Power Hour.
Oh my god!
Because I've been looking this up.
Shut the hell up!
Oh my god! It sounded like the Wizard of Oz there. They restructure their top 6 players, including Stephon Diggs, and they're still $2 million in the hole. They'll clear space, but they ain't gonna clear 20, 30 million. No way.
Okay, here we go. I'll tell you right now.
Oh fuck!
I'll tell you right now because I've been doing this shit.
Here we go.
So, number 1, you can Taron Johnson. You can extend Taron Johnson. You can extend Rasul Douglas because he got 1 year left. You just extend him. And that's
what are you saving on each one of those then? Let me do the math here because math is important.
White spot. You have Mitch Morris. You either extend him or release him.
Hey, hold on. So what are you using right now?
I don't know, but regardless, there's no extension on Rasul Douglas because he's going to hit the free agency market here. He's not going to let that. He's not. He's
got 1 year left. He's under contract.
Hey, dipshit. Hey, listen, real quick. You obviously don't. Hey, hold on. You obviously don't understand life. What I said was, you're not going to extend Rasul Douglas because he's not going to allow you to extend him when he's able to hit free agency and make money. He's still in the prime of his life. He's not going to take an extension. Okay, and he's the best corner in Green Bay. He's still a good corner. Okay. He's not going to get extended.
You watch when they sign him to a 3-year contract.
Okay, well, so let's change the roles here. They didn't extend him; they signed him to a 3-year deal, and it's not an extension.
The ways they can, dumbass. I didn't say what they're. None of this is happening.
Hey, I'm going off of what you did say. You said extend him. I'm saying they're not going to extend him. They might sign him to a 3-year deal. It's not an extension. Extending is what they're going to do to Josh Allen, right? Josh Allen, they're going to extend.
Right.
Right. That's
Scott Hatteberg. Scott Hatteberg.
Dawkins. They're going to. Taron Johnson's probably going to get an extension.
Deion Dawkins is how old?
28.
The best left tackle in the NFL.
Is the left tackle. You think he's going to get? You think they're going to let him go? You're nuts, dude. Oh, come on! Oh no!
He gave up a pressure to Chris Jones. He's got to go.
What's he going to get on the open market?
He gave up 1 sack all year.
No. What's he going to get on the open market? You think he's going to take less just to take less?
Yes, he's going to stay in Buffalo. He'll stay in Buffalo. Yes,
for a hefty price. There goes the cap up.
It's not going to be for a hefty price. He's going to stay in Buffalo.
All right. If you want to do this, you know what? I got to agree with Chocolate Bear.
I'm with you, John. I'm out.
Yeah. Chocolate Bear just put it up there, man. If you want to go through this, you can go through it. You got to prove how much everyone saves. All these guys, because you're not even talking about the main. Like you got 6 main guys.
Hold on, Sean. Okay, KD, let's go. I'll do my cat magic for you real quick. Josh Allen, his cap number right now is $47 million. You convert 20 of that $47 million to a signing bonus, and you spread it out over the life of his contract, you just save $20 million in cap space, or $17 million in cap space. Stephon Diggs, you don't touch Stephon Diggs. You leave his contract alone. Von Miller, the same thing. Deion Dawkins, you extend him. Tre'Davious White.
What's it say? We need to get under $51 million.
Right.
You got 20, so we're at 31 million.
Tre'Davious White, you cut him as a post June 1st, and his cap goes down. His cap hit goes down.
What? How much? How much?
It doesn't say. I'm trying to figure it out.
Oh, dear God.
I'm just telling you. Shush.
You putting these damn Madden video game numbers. People have to agree to this.
Okay.
I'm not going to go from a $22 million a year contract to an $8 million contract.
You're not, because the fact is you're getting it as a signing bonus. You're still getting.
It still counts against the cap this year.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it fucking does. Well, if you break it off over 3
signing
years,
bonus is spread out. So if you Josh Allen today is worth $47 million. If you renegotiate and turn his salary, because that's the guaranteed part of his salary, if you take $20 million of that and turn it into a signing bonus, it goes and it spreads out over the life of his 8-year contract. You spread that out over the 8 years remaining on his contract.
Dave,
so his cap hit goes down from 47 to 20.
I'm playing with your machine. Hold on. You know, if you cut Diggs as a post June 1st cut, you save $23 million. 23 as a post June 1st cut, by the way. I know they won't, but that Diggs, you could save 23.
You're not getting rid of Diggs.
You save $23 million.
That don't matter. You're not getting rid of Diggs.
So, and then the next thing is, if I know it's prorated, why would I want to do that if I want to get paid right now? That's the other thing. No,
it's for cap purposes. The proration. Hold on. The prorated part of it is all for cap. He's getting his money. He just gets it all up front. You turn it into a signing bonus.
And that's what we're trying to get at. What we're trying to get at. Okay, regardless, signing bonus or not, right? There are going to be players that say, I don't want no damn signing bonus prorated. Oh, they're not?
No, they don't. Hold on. You're missing.
Is Josh Allen on an 8-year fucking contract?
Let me explain this.
Is Josh Allen on an 8-year contract?
16-year contract spread out.
Wait. Hold on. Let me explain this to you guys because you're not understanding. The prorated part of it does not affect the player. It affects the cap. That's it. If the bill said, Josh, your salary is $47 million. Okay, we are going to take $20 million of that and turn it into a signing bonus.
Yes, we are following it.
This year, he still gets $47 million. The $20 million that you turn into a signing bonus gets prorated over the contract length for the team to help with the salary cap. The quarterback's still getting $47 million. He's not getting $5 million this year, $5 million. It's only for cap purposes. It's to get under the cap. He gets his $47 million, but they give it to him as a signing bonus as opposed to his base pay. That's it. He's getting all of his money this year. It's just how they do it and word it in a contract to prorate it for the team.
Again, it's amortization, and it's a simple concept, and I get that. But I was just hung up on over 8 years. Well, it's only a 3-year fucking contract.
Josh Allen signed a 10-year contract with Buffalo.
He's on a 10-year contract with Buffalo.
Yes. I'm sorry. He signed it in his 3rd year, and it was 8 years, so it's 11 years. So he's got 6 years left on that contract.
Holy God.
Yeah. Oh my God, what?
Fucking idiots. Why would you ever? Oh my God.
Okay.
Pat Mahomes signed a 10-year, $450 million contract with Kansas City. Oh my God. Josh Allen signed a 10-year or an 8-year, $140 million or $240 million contract. That's the going rate for quarterbacks. Why the hell do you think Daniel Jones got $43 million when he did? Oh my God, it's because that's what quarterbacks are signing for. Like I said, that's why teams like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, all them, they had to make a decision. Do I pay Baker Mayfield $50 million a year, or do I trade for Deshaun Watson? Or do I? So that's what I'm saying. That's just the quarterback market.
He's signed to a 6-year contract. He ain't signed for it.
Yeah. He's got 6 years left on his deal. So if you took $20 million of that money that he's making against the cap this year and turned it into a signing bonus, you would spread that signing bonus out over the 6 years.
So to wrap this up, I will spend now more time than I want on the stupid salary cap calculator to double check Dave's work tonight. So I will be on that, boys, and I will be your fact check next time.
No, but go look it up. That's how they do it. That's how you get under.
I'm not saying you can't get under. I'm sitting there saying the human aspect of it. Everybody has to take team-friendly deals, and I know that's not happening to a non-Super Bowl winning team.
Well, I understand that, but here again, the deals are not team friendly. They're friendly in this. Hold on, they're friendly in it's an accounting. All it is it's like a debit and a credit and making them balance out. Because here's the thing, Josh Allen, whatever Josh Allen does. Josh Allen, if his salary is $47 million that he's supposed to be paid this year, Josh Allen will have $47 million this year. They will take $20 million, convert it to a signing bonus, so they lower the cap hit from $27 million to from $47 million to $27 million. Prorate that out over 5 years from an accounting standpoint, but Josh Allen gets $47 million this year. It's just when he signs that contract, he gets $20 million right up front, and then the rest is in salary throughout the year. It's all about accounting. It's all about turning that negative into a positive. That's what they do on every team. How do you think they get from negative to positive? They don't cut their team to get under 81 million. They creatively fudge the numbers.
You're 100% right, David. And this is why Jennifer Gardner was in the draft day, which super hot in that, by the way. Anyway, it's like when I spend $1,200 on an advertising campaign for the hotel, I don't take the $1,200 up front. I pay it out, but we advertise it over each month $100 because that's going to go here.
Right.
And we kind of get that. We're talking about big numbers down the line, which, it eventually does come back to bite you in the ass. Hence, New Orleans Saints minus 80 million.
Right. Exactly.
And if you think, do you think the Saints are going to clear 20, 30 million by the time cap comes?
That is going to be difficult, but they're going to. No team has ever, because first of all, you have to have money to sign your draft picks. So you have to, by the time free agency starts or the new league year, whatever the case may be, I forget, you have to be under the cap. You have to be above the cap. So whatever is going to happen will happen by shortly. It's going to happen soon. And so those are the things, whether they are cuts like to Trey White and you designate them. That's why they have the post June 1st designation. So even though you can get cut in March, they do it as a post June 1st cut. They don't wait till June 1st to cut them. They designate them as a post June 1st cut because they save money against the cap when you designate them post June. All those things are all that is just creative accounting to get that number to where it needs to be. But like I said, when you talk about converting salary into bonus, you prorate it over the course of the length of the contract.
Sure.
Josh Allen signed a $258 million 6-year extension on August 6, 2021, which means, but what you failed to understand is he played under his rookie deal from 18. That contract started, the $258 million extension started after his 5-year contract ran out. So in 2023 was the first year he played under the contract. That was his first year under his extension. So that's why I said he's 11 years that he signed. Or he had 9 years.
I just want to interject this because I got to get off. But first of all, Jay, thank you for staying on with us for this long period. And you have been very good at supplying us with the stats and things we need. We're going to have to hire you as the statistician and
I have to say, Sean, that I want to apologize for my brother because we were supposed to do this show in 1 hour and we were right there. We were on it. We were 2 minutes or 3 minutes over and I was about done.
Yeah.
He had to come on and screw the show up for everybody. But for all those still watching, we are going to be on Thursday, 6:15 p.m.
And hopefully Jeff will not go to the left of E, which was awesome. So, but thank you guys.
And I want to say, Jay Starrett, you're watching this show. If you would like to come on, if you are a cap expert, if you know the cap, and you would like to come on and explain Thursday night, yes, 6:15 my time, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. We will be on Thursday as well. We're going to be talking about the NFC East. So NFC East, we will be on Thursday night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern, 6:15 out here in Arizona, 5:15 on Pacific Coast time. So come on, listen on Thursday. Also, Jay, if you know anything about salary cap and can explain it better to these 4 that don't. I told them they had homework. They just didn't listen. But anyway.
No, that's right.
And hey, Jay, if you like NCAA football, find a couple of your buddies, do a podcast. We sponsor it. We will pay everything. You just need to get on there and do it once a week. And we absolutely need that because I know so little about NCAA football. We could use somebody who knows what the hell, who we're looking at.
Yeah, let's talk cap for the NCAA football with NIL, right? So,
yeah, we'll talk cap.
Oh man,
no, we ain't talking nil, man. Never mind. Let's talk about the transfer portal. I thought that's what they used in Star Trek. Anyway, that being said, y'all, thanks for tuning in. Sorry it went longer. We didn't want it to be, but that's what it is. Thursday night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern, NFC East. We'll be here. Y'all take care. Y'all have a great night. We'll see ya.
Good night.